Not all remodel quotes are equal, and if you're choosing your contractor based on the lowest price, there's a really good chance you are making a very expensive mistake. So let's talk about how to actually tell the difference between a low budget contractor and a quality builder before you sign on the dotted line. In the past few months, we've lost a couple of projects to lower bids, and that's okay. We're not for everyone, and everyone is definitely not for us. But it did get me thinking about how most homeowners are told to get a couple of estimates and why that's actually really, really bad advice. Here's the problem. When folks get multiple bids, they just assume all of the bids are the exact same except for the price. Most people get multiple bids and they think they're comparing the same kitchen or the same bathroom between 2 or 3 contractors. Same drawings, same ideas, same results. But in reality, you're actually comparing completely different projects. Much like comparing a Kia to a Mercedes, yes, they are both cars, and yes, they will both get you to where you want to go, but one is going to be much more comfortable, last much longer, and offer many more options than the other. Probably going to have higher resale value too. So you may be thinking to yourself, how is that possible? I gave all the contractors the same information, so they're all bidding on the same job, right? Well, the reality is no, they're not. They're all going to be bidding based on different business models, different materials, different levels of planning, different levels of design, and on different levels of execution. One contractor's bid could be based on using only builder grade materials that come from a big box store, while another's bid could be based on using quality materials. One contractor's bid could include design service, while others may not offer any design assistance at all. So yes, you may have given them all the same information, but you are going to get very different results, and none of that is obvious just by looking at the price. If you get multiple bids and 1 or 2 are significantly cheaper, it usually means they are not actually the same bids for the same job. In fact, they will most likely vary greatly in the quality and type of materials, scope of work, design services, project planning, and of course, in the execution. And here's the key. None of these differences show up clearly in the price. So how do you know which contractor to pick? Let's take a little bit closer look. Let's start with the details of the estimate. If you get a bid from a contractor and it lists very little detail and a low price, you are setting yourself up for unexpected and increased costs during the project. It's actually a very common tactic for low budget contractors to come in with a low number. The number is designed to get you to sign the contract, but they know from the start it's not actually enough money to complete the project. Then they come back repeatedly throughout the process saying, oh, this wasn't included, or oh, that wasn't included. And then they ask you for more and more money. So when you're comparing quotes, remember, you are not just choosing between 2 prices. You're choosing between 2 completely different experiences and 2 completely different outcomes. On bids that are very low, it's also pretty common that materials are one of the main areas where contractors decide to cut costs. They will base your bid off of using the cheapest materials they can find, which are often builder grade or entry level, and very commonly they come from a big box store. Now, you may be thinking, why is that a problem? Isn't that where most people get their materials? And the answer is no, it's not. Quality contractors are going to source quality materials and not things that come from big box stores. Big box stores have their place. Big box store materials are made for the masses and made to hit a budget niche. They're not made for quality and longevity. At our company, we can often be 20 to 40% higher than another contractor just on materials alone because we source quality materials with longevity in mind. There's a massive difference between cabinets that last a few years and cabinets that last decades. Fixtures with plastic components versus solid metals that can be serviced. Finishes that wear out versus finishes that hold up. And here's the part most people miss. You don't see that difference on day one. You see it a few years later when things start failing. I'll give you a great example. We rented a home when we first got to Arkansas that had a brand new DIY bathroom remodel. Everything in that bathroom was sourced from local big box, including the tile, vanity, and finishes. And honestly, it looked very, very nice when it was brand new. We were in that house for 3 years, and by the time we moved out, the tiles had cracks, the faucets were starting to fail, and the vanity was warping. Plus, the finish was rubbing off both the vanity cabinet and the quartz top. So now that bathroom that was such a bargain is probably going to have to be redone in another year or two, which means over the course of 5 years, they're going to end up spending what they would have spent if they would have just done it right the first time. If we would have built that bathroom, we would have spent 40% more on quality materials and avoided every single one of those issues, and they would have had a bathroom that would have lasted for 10, 15, 20 years. Next, let's talk about design, which is a huge part of our quotes and something that most homeowners don't think about until it's too late. A budget contractor often expects you to design your own project. Now, this may sound really exciting, right? Especially if you're an HGTV fan. You're thinking, yes, I'm looking forward to designing myself. But unless you are experienced in design, it's very easy to make mistakes. And if no design assistance is included, there will be nobody to point those mistakes out to you. There is nothing worse than putting $30,000 into a new kitchen, and the first time you go to use it, you realize the cabinet doors won't open properly or the kitchen does not function the way that you imagined. Now you're stuck with a $30,000 mistake, and if you would have had some assistance from a professional at the beginning, you could have had a completely different outcome. Another thing that I often see with these budget contractors is clients will come into my showroom looking for help sourcing materials. They'll say to me, oh, I've already hired a contractor. He's great. He's going to do all the work, and he told me to go out and find a vanity, or he said go out and pick some tile. And after a few minutes, it's obvious that they don't even know what they're supposed to be buying. They don't know the size of the vanity that they need. They don't know the type of tiles they need. And they don't know the difference between something that's going to hold up for 10 years and something that's going to fail after 3 because their contractor didn't bother to tell them. When you work with a low-end contractor, you are choosing layouts, you are making decisions, you are finding materials and trying to piece it all together. A quality builder doesn't do that to you. We guide you through layout, flow, function, and focus on how the space actually works for your life. We care about the final project overall and that you end up with a beautiful functional space that lasts a long time. We care about how your space is functioning not just the day we leave, but 5 or 10 years down the road. So keep in mind, a remodel that looks good but doesn't function well is still just a really bad remodel. And last but not least, we come to planning and process. This is the invisible part of the build. It's the part you don't see, but it's huge. Budget contractors usually spend less time planning, and planning is where it all begins. If a project is not well planned out from the beginning, you can expect delays, change orders, missed details, and frustration during construction. We invest heavily upfront in planning, so we know exactly how the project should go from day one. And that means the project runs the way it's supposed to. Project planning is not an extra. It's what keeps things from going sideways. So when you're comparing estimates, don't ask, why is this one cheaper? Ask, what am I not getting for the price? Is this a Kia when I'm expecting a Mercedes? How will this affect my resale value? Am I paying for value over time or for something that is going to last a few years? Now, if price is your number one priority, there are plenty of contractors who can help you with that. But if your goal is to do it once, do it right, and have it last, you need to understand what you're actually paying for. A quality contractor is going to provide a very detailed scope of work. They're going to plan for high quality materials that bring lasting value. They're going to assist with design, and they are going to offer a thorough process with detailed planning. If you want help evaluating your options or designing a project that works long-term, reach out. We'll walk you through it so you can make a confident decision based on quality and value, so you end up with a home that you can enjoy for years to come.